Today we are going to study My Olympic Prize by Jesse Owens. James Cleveland. Jesse Owens 1913 to 1980 was an American track and field athlete who specialized in sprints and long jumps. He participated in 1936 Summer Olympics in Berlin, Germany, where he achieved international fame by winning 4 gold medals, one each in 100 meters, 200 meters long jumps, and as members of 4 into 100 meters relay race team. So, the story is about an American athlete, Jesse Owens, and he speaks about 1936 Summer Olympics, which was held in Berlin. The Olympic game is the world foremost sports competition featuring summer and winter sports in which athletes all over the world participate in the variety of competitions. In this essay, Jesse Owens shares his experience of 1936 Summer Olympics held in Berlin when patriotic feelings were running high in Germany. However, Owens did not bother as he trusted in his abilities. He tells his stunning story about the foregoing a lasting friendship with a German, putting differences aside for the love of the games. So, what happens in this story? Jesse Owens says us about the Olympics that was held in Berlin. It was Summer Olympics held in Berlin in 1936. He says us his experiences about the Olympic game. The Olympic game was held in Berlin in Germany when the nationalistic feelings were running high, or the patriotic feelings were running high. So, what do you mean by a patriotic feeling? A patriotic feeling means the emotion of intense love, loyalty, and pride for one's own country. Okay, it was summer of 1936. The Olympics game were being held in Berlin because Adolf Hitler childishly insisted that his performers were members of a master race. Nationalistic feelings were at all-time high. So what happened? In summer 1936, the Olympic Games were held in Berlin, in Germany. This was because Adolf Hitler, who childishly insisted that what does he insisted that the members of the Germany athletes belongs to the master race, and the other performers did not belong to the master race. The nationalistic feelings were running high at that time. So what does Jesse Owens says? He says that I wasn't worried about all this. I trained, sweated, and disciplined myself for 6 years with the game in my mind while I was going over going on the board. All I could think about was taking home one or two those gold medals. I have my eyes especially on the long jump. A year before, as a university student, I had set the world record of 26 feet 8 1 by 4 inches. Everyone kind of expected me to win the Olympic event, hands down. So, what does Jesse Owens says? That whatever the nationalistic feelings were running high, he was not bothered about anything because he had trained himself, he sweated and made himself a discipline about the same game for over 6 years. Like same thing it happens with us. We all prepare for over 1 year, we prepare for our exams, we all make ourselves discipline and study, we determine for scoring good grades, and when we go to exam we become fearless and give the exam because till 1 year we used to learn all the necessary things required to give the exam. Same here. So Jesse Owens had already trained, sweated, and disciplined him for 6 years. Now he is not worried at all to give his exams or attend the game. While I was going over on the board, he says, Jesse Owens says that when he was going over the board, He was thinking to take one or two gold medals with him when he returns. And especially he was looking the long jump round. A year before, as a university student, he had set an world record of 26 feet 8 1 by 4 inches. Then I was in for a surprise. So Jesse Owens says, I was in for a surprise. When the time came for long jump trials, I was startled to see a tall boy hitting the pit almost 26 feet on his practice leaps. He turned out to be a German named Luslong. I was told that Hitler had kept him under wraps, evidently hoping he would win the jump. So, what happens? When Jesse Owens went to the trial round, he was startled, he was surprised to see a tall boy. He was a German boy named Luslong, and he was hitting 26 feet in his trial round only. So, Jesse Owen was told that Luslong was kept under wraps of, or under wraps means under cover of Hitler, so that he can win the Olympic game. I suppose that if Long won, it would add some new support to Nazis' Aryan superiority theory. After all, I am a Negro, a little hot under the collar about Hitler's way. I determined to go out there and really show Der Führer and his master race who was superior and who wasn't. So, what happens? Here, Jesse Owens says that as to Nazis' Aryan superiority theory, all the Nazis means all the German people or the German athletes belong to the master race from the all other athletes that way came to participate. As Jesse Owens was a Negro, he wanted to prove Der Führer means Hitler and all his members. So Jesse Owens wants to win by hook or by crook the long jump race and just want to prove the Nazis' Aryan superiority wrong by proving his master means Hitler wrong and his athletes wrong by winning the Olympics. Anger is the worst enemy of athlete. So, an angry athlete is an athlete who will make mistake. As any coach tell you, I am no exception. On the first of my three qualifying leaps, I leapt from several inches beyond the takeoff board for a no jump. On the second jump, I was even worse. So, what does Jesse Owens says here? Jesse Owens says that an angry athlete. Anger is such a thing that makes an athlete make mistake. So, he was not an exception. When he gets angry, he too make mistakes. So, when he became angry, he started making mistake. He just leapt few inches back of his board and there was no jump in his first trials. And when he attempted the second jump, he even did it more worse. So, what does Jesse Owens says to himself? Did I come 3000 miles for this? I thought bitterly. To fail in the trials and make fool of myself. Walking a few yards from the pit, I kicked disgustedly at the ground. Suddenly, I felt a hand on my shoulder and turned to look into the friendly blue eyes of a tall German long jumper. He had easily qualified for the finals at the first attempt. He offered me a firm handshake. So, what happens? Now, Jesse Owen was very angry as he was not qualified in his first two trial jumps. So, he kicked the ground bitterly or disgustedly. Then he suddenly felt someone's hand upon his shoulder and he turned his face and was able to see clear blue eyes of the tall German person, long jumper, who was easily qualified. So Lazlong was easily qualified for his finals in his first attempt, in his first trial jump. So Lazlong offered Jesse Owens a handshake. Jesse Owens, I am Lazlong. I didn't think we have met. He spoke English well, though with a German twist to it. So, how did Lazlong spoke English? Lazlong spoke English with a German twist to it. Glad to meet you, I said. Then, trying to hide my nervousness, I asked, How are you? I am fine. This question is, How are you? What do you mean? I asked. So, Jesse Owens asked, What do you mean? Lazlong said, Something might be eating you, he said, proud the way foreigners are when they have mastered a bit of American slang. You should be able to qualify with your eyes closed. What did Lazlong say? You are able to qualify with your eyes closed. Believe me, I know it. I told him, and I felt good to say that to someone. For the next few times we talked together, I didn't tell long what was eating me, but he seemed to understand my anger and he took pains to reassure me. So, what did Jesse Owens says here? Jesse Owens says that he was angry and something was eating him, some thoughts. He was continuously thinking of something and was not able to say Lazlong about this. But Lazlong was able to understand the reason why Jesse Owens was angry and was trying to make him comfortable. Although he had been schooled in Nazi's youth movement, he didn't believe in the Aryan supremacy business any more than I did. We laughed over the fact that he really looked the part through. An inch taller than I, he had a lean, muscular frame, clear blue eyes, fair hair, and strikingly handsome face. Finally, seeing that I had calmed down somewhat, he pointed to the takeoff board. So, what does Jesse Owens says here? So, Jesse Owens says here, even though he was schooled in Nazi's youth movement, he was not at all standing for Nazi's supremacy business. Okay, he was looking part through, means he was looking above that, and his mindset was completely different than other German people's. Okay, so how did Lazlong look? Jesse Owens says, an inch taller than I. So, how did Lazlong look? An inch taller than Jesse Owens. He had a lean, muscular frame with clean blue eyes, fair hair, and strikingly handsome face. So, then Lazlong pointed to the takeoff board. Look, he said, why don't you draw a few inches at the back of the board and aim to make your takeoff from there? You will sure not to foul, and you certainly thought ought to jump for enough to qualify. So, what does Lazlong say here? Lazlong say that why don't you draw a few inches back of the board and try to jump from there? I am sure you will not foul this time. What does it matter if you are not first in the trials? Tomorrow is what counts. So what does Lazlong told to Jesse Owens? He advised him to draw a few inches back of the board and take off from there. And also he says there is nothing wrong if you come third in the trials. If you don't become first in the trials, tomorrow is all what counts. Suddenly, all the tension seemed to ebb out of my body as the truth of what he said hit me. Confidently, I drew a line a full foot behind the board and proceeded to jump from there. I qualified with almost a foot to spare. So, what happened? Suddenly, all the tensions that Jesse Owens was having ebbed out, means went out from his body and mind, and he accepted the truth and drew a few inches back of the board and started to jump from there. And this time he qualified his finals. He was qualified for finals. So, do you believe in adage? A friend in need is a friend in out need. To Long's room in the Olympics village to thank him. I knew that it hadn't been for him, I probably wouldn't be jumping in the finals the following day. So what does Jesse Owens says here? That night, the same night he went to Long's room in the Olympic village. Olympic village means not actually a village of Olympics. It means in a tent they all the Olympic players live together in a particular area which is considered as the Olympic village. So he goes to Long tent to thank him because Long was the only person who helped Jesse Owens, for which he was selected for the finals. We sat in his quarter and talked over 2 hours about tracks and fields, ourselves, and world situations, and a dozen of other things. So, what did Jesse Owen did? Jesse Owen and Long were talking for 2 hours continuously about the tracks, about the fields, about themselves, about the world situations, and a dozen of other things. When I finally got up to leave, we both knew that the real friendship had been formed. Waltz go out to the field the next day trying to beat me if he could. But I knew that he wanted me to do my best even if it means my winning. So what does Jesse Owens says here? Jesse Owens says that when I came from his tent, I felt like now true friendship was formed. We know that tomorrow a real game will start and we have to face each other at the Olympic Games. But Jesse Owen knew that even if it means his winning, Long will be with him. As it turned out, Luz broke his own past record in doing so. He pushed me to a peak performance. I remembered that at the instant I landed for my final jump, the one which set the Olympic record of 26 feet 5 by 4 inches. He was at my side congratulating me despite the fact that the Hitler glared at us from the strand not 100 yards away. Loss shook my hand hard, and it wasn't a fake smile with a broken heart, short of grip either. So what does Jesse Owens says? So the next morning when the Olympic Games was held, so Long did his best and pushed Jesse Owens to a very hard competition, but Jesse Owens too competed him and broke his past records in doing so and set a record of 26 feet 5 1 by 4 inches. He was at Long was in the Jesse Owens side and was congratulating him despite of when Hitler was seeing them doing handshake from not 100 yards away. Okay, Long did a firm handshake, hard handshake he did with Jesse Owens, which was with not a fake smile and broken heart. He was doing all with his heart. You would melt. What does Jesse Owens says here? He says that you could melt down all the gold medals and cups I have and then would be plating. They wouldn't be plating on the 24 karat friendship I felt for Long at the moment. So what does he says? If you would melt all the gold medals, all the gold cups that I have brought, if you melt and do a plating over our 24 karat friendship, that wouldn't be enough. I felt for Long at that moment. So he was feeling so good for Long at that moment that he says that if someone will melt all the cups and all the medals that Jesse Owen had won till now and do a plating over their friendship, it would not be enough to justify their friendship. Their friendship was so pure than 24 karat gold. I realized then too that Long was the epitome. Epitome means a true example of periodic over time founder of the modern Olympic Games, must have had in his mind when he said, the important thing in Olympic Games is not winning but taking part. The essential thing in life is not conquering but fighting well. So, Jesse Owen realized that Long was the true example of what Perry Coubertin said, who was the founder of modern Olympics. So, what does he say? He said that the important thing in the Olympic game is not to win but to participate in it. And the essential thing, the most important thing in life is not conquering, is not how much you conquer, but how much you fight, how much you give your all the strength and efficiency level, how much you have spent all your energy. That is important in your life. How much fighting you did to achieve it is important. Thank you and have a nice day ahead.